And for today's project, we have one of the, I guess the fuse panel harness. I think this is like an intermediate harness that kind of connects to the other harness. We got stuff like alternator, some of the oil pressure slash, I think that's oil pressure. We got low oil sensor, the main electrical connections, like a bunch of stuff just missing and just absolutely filthy. It's just caked oil nastiness. So we're going to go ahead and go through this, and I'm going to clean it and get it back to what I would consider at least usable, because in this state it's almost in just complete need of replacement. But I don't even know if you can get this harness. I haven't even bothered to look. So I'm going to clean it first and see what we can get out of it and go from there. So I'll update you guys when I get a little bit further along here. All right, here we are in the process of tearing it down. Got most of it stripped away from the old electrical tape. So yeah, gonna go ahead and keep going. Alrighty, here we are back, and I got all the pieces laid out. I've cleaned it up as much as I feel like kind of needs to be. It's definitely not perfect, but it's a vast improvement, and some of them turned out better than others. I'm going to put a little bit of that dielectric grease inside of each of these sealed connectors. Just because there's rubber in there, and I don't want to do any, anything that's going to push the rubber down into the bottom. So I'll go ahead and lube those up a little bit, and then I'm going to coat the rest of this in some electrical engine harness tape and put it back together kind of the way it was, including all the little brackets and pieces like that. So we'll see how it turns out. And just the next morning, I stayed up a little bit later than I should have, probably, working on this thing. It is done as far as I care to go with it. I think it looks fine, and it's not covered in oil anymore. And I put some new harness tape on here in spots. I don't want to go too much further without kind of test fitting it in the car, just to make sure I don't have to undo a bunch. I'll go ahead and finish wrapping up some of the stuff once it's actually in the car. But for now, I think it looks a lot better. And then from here, probably start cleaning up some of these manifolds and start laying out some parts and getting those cleaned up as well. Alright, so I was looking at this wiring harness, and I saw this connector and this one, and I was pretty sure that this connector here went to this, and indeed it does fit on there, but it's missing the housing to it. And so that would be the low oil sensor. And then I realized this was here, and I've already taken it out, but I put it back just for showing you. So I looked it up in the manual because I wasn't sure what it was exactly, and then why the California oil pan would be without it, and it is for the sub-zero assist. So this connector used to be right there, and so I got to thinking, if this is an oil temperature sensor, which I'm not sure that it's a full range sensor, changing resistance dependent on temperature. In fact, it may just be a switch, I don't know. But in the Adaptronic startup guide, it has this input here can be used as an optional oil temperature sensor input, which, I mean, it could be multiple that you could do that to, but I figure it's there. Let's see if we can make that work. So I'm going to expose some of this stuff here and get enough to at least put some solder on and maybe some JB weld to bring it out a little bit further before the wire breaks. I don't know how I'm going to do this exactly, but I'll I'll bring you guys back when I have a little bit more of this exposed. Alright, so we have our little piece here, and I need to go ahead and try and solder it. So I've thrown some heat shrink on there to try to make things a little bit better, and we shall see what we can get done here. It's not much to go on. It's just a little bit of nubbin sticking out that I've been able to dig out of there. There's not a lot of meat. So probably what I will do is, after we get this wire on there, I'm going to obviously shove the heat shrink down and then probably JB weld around it just to try to build something up. I've left this pretty rough in there, so hopefully that'll be enough for it to stick to. But if not, we'll just replace it in the future, but why not try at least, you know? So, alright. Grab some. I need solder. Okay. Okay. That should do. Now again, this is going to be pretty brittle, so I'm going to clean it up and JB weld around it. But right now I just want to do some testing with the voltages, so I'm not going to go through all that process until I know that this thing does what I want it to. So, as I kind of feared, this pretty much will not work for the purposes that I want. I believe it's a switch. I tried putting ice cubes on it and some heat, and nothing really changes. So there's no difference in impedance. So we will go ahead and scrap this idea and go for a 2-wire sensor, and probably have to drill out the stock hole that goes into and put a different thread pitch in there, but that's okay. So again, why it's always important to check your manual. I could have saved myself quite a bit of time and effort. Black with a red stripe. And if we come over to the manual, for turbocharged models, we have the Sub-Zero sensor, and it is a ground with a switch. It doesn't indicate the actual temperature, but it is black with red on the engine harness. So, or the emissions harness. That does in fact switch. It is not any type of thermistor of any kind, so use your manuals, guys. So while I'm in here, I figure I will go ahead and replace this connector on here. These are actually suspiciously close to, like, really close. I guess it'd be that way. Wow. So they're very, very close. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to fit the new style connector that I'm going to use. And I couldn't convince the bank to let me refinance the house. So we're not going to be using the fancy Deutsch connectors. We're going to be using these, which, you know, I have a million different types of, which is great and all. But I'm going to be using the single pin on here, and we'll put that on there. Wow, crunchy. Looks like the wire's okay. I've seen better, but for what we're trying to do, I think it'll be alright. So, a little bit shorter. That should do. See if I can get this the other way. I have to move you guys. It's absolutely fine to me. No, I don't know which one this goes in, so that could be a problem. This one? No idea. Doesn't seem to fit. This one? Uh-huh. Okay. So she's installed. So we'll put the other one on the other side. Also, these have these little locking clips, I guess. I'm not sure how it works, but there we go. All the way in. So now we can do the other side. Okay, so now we are on the oil pan side, and we have the low oil sensing unit here. So basically, when you have oil, this will float and keeps that circuit open, and then when your level drops down, it closes that circuit and provides ground, so it turns on your buzzer on your dash. Not really sure what's going on inside this thing. Yeah, pretty simple. So now we just got to replace the connector on this side, because it's kind of sorry. The only reason I open these up is to just try to salvage as much wire as I possibly can. This one may prove to be a little bit more difficult. It's got this big fat jacket on here. So. Some good stuff. Okay. Now we need to shoot. Which side do you suppose? Ah. So, now that's changed too. So now we have a pretty nice looking connector, honestly. And that'll just connect to the other side. Kind of like that. So yeah. Now that'll connect back onto the wiring harness, like so. Okay, now I can put this back on the oil pan. Well, while I was in there getting this sensor ready to go, I noticed my oil pan was looking worse for wear, so I went ahead and stripped the paint from it. And now I'm going to give it a good acetone and wire wheel and give her a coat of paint and clear coat, because that will look a lot better. Well, we got it hung up here. She's drying. Did a couple extra layers of clear coat on her. Should look pretty sharp. Ordered a new drain plug with a magnet in it, and that should be here soon, so we'll use that instead. But she is shiny. Lots of clear. So the plan for this, I think what we're gonna do is I'm gonna remove this old turbo, and then I'm going to start removing all of the accessory stuffs and the intake, everything. I need to replace the oil filter. I need to repaint this oil spout, and just general cleanup of the actual engine itself. Everything is filthy, dirty, nasty. Needs to be cleaned. I need to strip down this wiring harness. Currently, the emissions with the Adaptronic, I was able to hijack this plug, and this actually runs the relay for my fan for the radiator. And so I'm going to repurpose a couple of these. I think I'm going to use them as probably a turbo speed sensor, which I have. Maybe the oil temperature sensor, which I'm going to place in this hole where the old one was. I'm going to use, I don't know what the other ones are yet. I gotta figure that out, but the wires are already there, and I don't feel like making a whole loom at this point. Not until the next motor. But with this motor, I'm going to repurpose some of the extra ones as well. So strip them out of the harness, and then probably make them jump out back here somewhere so that they can come down the passenger side of the firewall and come forward instead of going all the way across and just being a bunch of extra stuff. I had these kind of just tucked up in there, and I mean, it just looks kind of silly. So like I said, the yellow one was a fan, turbo speed sensor, oil temperature, and that'll leave me a couple extra ones to do whatever with. And yeah, so now is the time to start taking this stuff apart. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to high gloss, or at least black with a lot of clear on the upper radiator hose mount on the water pump here. All of this, and the front housing, and then possibly the distributor as well, crank angle sensor. I think it would look pretty cool with most of the front being really shiny black, a lot of the belts and stuff. I'd like to repurpose or repurchase this hardware, get some stainless steel stuff, just so I don't have to deal with the rusting issues that keeps happening, and I can kind of just set it, forget it sort of stuff. Then I was thinking also, because this was just so shiny last year, and now it just looks like absolute garbage. I think that's going to either get powder coated or I'm going to paint it as well. I'm leaning towards powder coating, but we'll see. I might paint it the first time, and then on the next motor do powder coating. But yeah, got to get a bunch of this junk out of here and start figuring out how I want to do the rest of this install. Some repairs to the harness, just make it look better, clean it up, all that. So stay tuned. Alright, got her torn down this far. Going to give her the old wet fur and get her shined up and figure out what I'm going to do for paint. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to powder coat after I start playing with it. We're going to wait till a future motor for that. This will get some fresh paint on some of the parts and just regular cleaning on the rest of it. But should look pretty good when I'm done. So I will bring you guys back for that. Woohoo! Almost started without filming, so I stopped to go ahead and document this. So when I had these powder coated back in the day, I did not necessarily communicate exactly where I wanted these done, so no fault on the people that did this. But I did not mask off this lower half of the exhaust section here, and you can kind of see the gasket there, and you can't really see it too much, but there's a bit of a lip there. And so there was, until I just cleaned it off, but probably showed in the last clip, there was quite a bit of just black around, so it was kind of exhaust leaking right around this. So I'm going to go ahead and run the drill with a little bit of a kind of paint remover tip on it. I'm going to take this powder coating off, at least this section here and maybe part of this section here. The rest of it, it's not going to be a problem, but I want to make sure that gasket is laying as flat as possible to prevent more exhaust leaks in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and get that cleaned up, and I'll bring you guys back. Okay, so got the paint taken down, or the powder coating. So now when I put the gasket on there, it shouldn't be hitting anything. So anyways, this part down here, actually there's like a little lip right there, and so it's flush anyways. In fact, it actually goes down. So I didn't bother with that area, just concentrating on this one here. But the rest of this thing just really needs to get polished, all the dirt and crap scraped off, and probably need to pull this front cover off, but it's a pain because you got, you know, keyways and things to worry about. Yeah, so just gonna keep cleaning it, but I imagine this will probably be it for this week, and we will probably see you guys next week.